Content warning, y'all. We have lots of fun making this podcast, but remember, we watch a lot of R-rated films, use language that reflects that, and joke about heavy topics to create levity around these themes. If that doesn't feel safe or could be triggering, please take care of yourself. We want you to have fun listening too. This also means we might not be suitable for children. Oh yeah, and we spoil the end of all the movies we pod about. Thanks for listening.
Bad day. Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Your coffee is better than my coffee. Like the pot I made this morning.
Oh, I disagree.
Was terrible, and you just made it delicious.
I fully enjoyed it.
I thought it was rancid, and the pot you made is
I think
so
it's
much
just
fresher.
What do you call it? I don't know what.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a name for it, but like chef's bias.
Yeah. Well, chef's anti-bias or something. I don't know, because I don't think
Well, the bias is the chef doesn't like.
Yeah.
it.
Right. Yeah. I guess.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want Keith to get a new computer, or you want to,
Well, basically, if you
not new. If you want us to get a cheap computer off eBay.
well, if you want us to keep making these,
Yes,
basically,
correct. If you want the podcast to continue, please become a patron.
It's not about me. It's about you.
We're gonna start doing more things. We don't have a ton of patrons currently. Currently, I think we have,
Los Dos.
yeah.
Bless them.
Yeah, Henshaw and Karthik
Shout
are
out.
our two, and we'll shout you out if you become a patron for sure.
Yeah. Until it becomes unwieldy because
yeah,
there's too many of you.
And then we'll
we're-
just have to do new ones. We'll just be like, oh, we got new patrons.
Oh, yeah.
Happy to do that.
Or, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but some, YouTube creators who make their living via Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the last...
I mean, I do thank you
10
cards.
minutes of their videos are just scrolling.
I do thank you cards for
Uh-huh.
my 20 patrons who I love and adore on my personal.
No, I think it's nice that they do that.
But yeah,
it would not be a motivator for me.
Oh man, it's wild. Oh yeah, for sure. It's wild, like the amount that some people have to go through, where it's
really
just
impressive.
speeding through so fast. Imagine being like, "Oh, I think that's me," like having to go back and hit pause. I don't know. Anyway, we'll do that for you, but we'll say the words out loud. Likewise. Yeah. We have social media. Follow us on social media. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Please. I work so hard.
Z works very hard.
And we don't pay for any ads. And literally everything we do, I think it's very important to note.
It's from scratch.
Everything is made in-house. We don't
outsource
outsource a single thing.
No.
Not a single thing is
LOL,
made by
who would
anyone.
do that?
Exactly. We don't have the money for that. We can't do that. So everything we edit everything ourselves.
We have lots of skills and talents. Please pay us.
All the screenshots are taken by us. Like everything, like the covers for all of our Instagram, everything is made by us. We do all of that. So yeah, if you
from their humble beginnings in a basement garage.
Yeah, go on. So anyway, just wanted to brag about that in a basement garage.
Thank you.
Anyway, happy Pride. I was really excited about this episode because I love this movie.
Uh-huh.
And Keith had never seen it.
Had never seen it.
And now Keith has seen it. And I still love this movie. To Wong
Despite
Foo.
the fact that I've seen it.
To Wong Foo, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. Mouthy name. It's impressive.
Wait, what? There's yet another movie that I'm confused with this one and Priscilla. To so-and-so on their 30th birthday or something like that?
To Jillian on her 37th birthday or something like that. Yeah.
What is that movie? Is that a gay movie?
No, it's not.
Oh,
But I
okay.
don't know. I don't think I've seen it.
Right.
I don't know if it's actually Jillian. I think it's to Jillian under something's.
Also, I wasn't certain I knew who Julie Newmar was
Mhm.
until we actually watched this, and I'm like, oh yeah, she played.
She's-
She was one of the people to play Catwoman on the
Yep.
Batman television series.
Yeah.
I know she was great, and she's obviously gorgeous.
Right. Yeah.
But don't tell me she's better than Eartha Kitt.
Oh,
at,
for
at
sure.
anything.
Right. She was the best Catwoman. Shut the fuck up. Eartha Kitt is the best everything that Eartha Kitt has ever done. So
Correct.
fuck off anyone that says
Correct.
otherwise. Sorry. That's just something we need to clear up before we get
Yeah.
started.
All respect to Ms. Newmar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, no,
But
she
all-
didn't do it a disservice, but to say
Yeah.
she's the best Catwoman is slander.
Mm-hmm.
No offense.
100%. So I take issue with that.
Yeah, for sure.
I take issue with who says it, Vita?
Yeah, Vita.
Try to describe her and not use the word statuesque. Oh, Miss Julie, you are statuesque, and you were the only Catwoman. Oh, read it, please.
To Wong Foo, thanks for everything. Julie Newmar.
It's racist, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
Plus the photo, I feel like, is really weird. A weird photo to me. It
sure.
looks like it's like the position of her head. I'm sure it was not doctored anyway, but
Oh, yeah.
well, I'm not sure of that. But to me, it looks like when you when they do an effect where it looks like someone's head is on backwards. Something about the relation of her head
it
to
definitely
the rest
looks
of her body.
like they didn't have it
It's
definitely
like someone
looks like
put
her
their head in a cutout of her
Yeah,
body,
correct.
kind of,
That-
one of
that is
those
kinda what it looks
standees. Anywho,
Not disagreeing.
thank you. You already named it. 95.
1995. Yeah.
Directed by Beban Kidron or something. I don't know
Who
how
gave
it's
birth to a baby on the last
Day of
day of
filming.
filming?
Yeah, apparently, I don't know
Oh.
if you read this one, that,
No.
because Spielberg produced it, and, because she was newly pregnant when she agreed to take it on, or it was like a consideration. She was like nervous to take it on because of that.
Right.
Spielberg said he would, if she needed to step aside, he would finish.
Wow.
Yeah, and apparently this is a thing that I've learned, that like he's always in movies he's produced. First of all, he doesn't always take a credit,
Oh wow.
and that if he agrees to produce something, it's also like he's really supportive, and
Oh, wow.
and has like seemingly kind of secretly directed a few movies that way, like that
Wow.
people, not taking over, as far as I can tell. That's not
Yeah.
how it's described, but like that if people have to bow out for whatever reason,
right,
even if
right,
it's
yeah.
temporarily, he and then
Wow.
doesn't really take credit for it. So, which I
Yeah.
have mixed feelings about him.
For sure.
But
If
he seems
for
he
sure.
does seem like he's for decades been very supportive of other filmmakers in that way.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I did not know the director.
Me neither.
It's my first encounter of their name, and they don't have a lot of films to their credit, but
Yeah.
apparently one of their breakout things, and they're from the UK, I think.
Oh.
So one of the breakout things is an adaptation of a Jeanette Winterson novel called "Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit," I think is what it's called.
Okay. Never
Yeah.
heard of it.
Jeanette Winterson is a pretty interesting writer
Okay.
of gayness.
Of gayness. okay.
I've never finished it, but thanks to Flota, I got way into it. I don't know if I still have a copy. I got very excited about a book called Art and Lies by her.
Mm.
But again, never finished it. So
Okay.
she's not an easy read necessarily.
It's hard for me to finish books because finishing things makes me very sad. I know that's stupid, but truly,
No, I get it.
It's really hard for me to finish a book. Like I'll be like, oh, I have a chapter to go, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I'll if I leave it, I'll always have a chapter to go. That's healthy. I hadn't seen this movie in a very, very, very long time. So I remembered a lot of it. This is one of those movies when it was like coming out, it was like, oh my God, this is so controversial. I can't believe this film is being made. You know, my parents were like, oh, this is, whatever. And then when I was like, a teenager or something or other, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, one of those.
Go on.
One of those teenage years. I think like my aunt loaned us the video, and like I don't know, after I got my womanly period for the first time, this marks you as a woman forever period. I like my mom got very into like I don't know, like she started like we used to do this thing where when my dad would go, my dad would take trips like yearly to visit his family, like his sister RIP would fly him out to visit them, and he'd stay with them for like a week or whatever, and then he'd come back. So during that week, my mom and I would like watch all the movies that my dad didn't like or didn't want to watch, things like that. And so we would just like have like a girls' night is what we called it. LOL. But like the movies that we watched weren't like chick flicks. We would watch just anything my dad didn't like or didn't want to watch. And this continued like.
So not the 1936 Christmas Carol?
Correct. Yes, exactly. We would not watch that. So anyway, I think To Wong Foo was one that we watched at some point, and my mom absolutely loved it. And so yeah, she thought it was great, and which is I don't want to say it's surprising because it's not really surprising that my mom liked it, but because it's all about female empowerment or whatever. But I think honestly, like watching.
Is it?
Well, yeah, I think the thing that's interesting about it is that it doesn't actually. I mean, I'm not saying it does it perfectly in any way, but it doesn't make the joke that they're like men dressed as women. Like, that's not the joke of the movie. And it's not seen as a point of humor. Like, it's not done as a joke, but it's also not done humorously. And the only time, not the only time, but like the main times that like they're, because like when when Chris Penn is like assaulting Vita, like it's not played for laughs.
Right.
She's in.
Well, to me, it's borderline.
Well,
I mean, no, you're right. You're right.
No,
you're right.
I mean like afterwards is.
Yeah.
And I think that's
and
done.
It's more at his expense than
correct.
hers.
Yes.
You're right.
You see it as, oh, this is a dangerous situation for her.
Yep.
And I do think it's important in a sense that they show. Well, I shouldn't say important. I'm glad that they put the white person in that situation and didn't make it, because I think that would have been like out of their depth if they had done something else, and I think it would have been probably done really badly if they had tried to do that. Especially in 1995, they would have not handled it right. They would have done something ridiculous, and it would have been not what it was. Or, so I think it actually, it's like, it's really interesting when you watch this stuff. They're not worried about and they're not really worried about not passing, which is interesting. I think that that's something that, that's not like the main.
Except when they get to
No.
Snyderville.
No. I mean, like, that's not the main focus of the film.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I got
you. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, that's something that they fear. Dedoy.
Right. They're worried about
the gay panic,
the trans panic.
Right.
But not
that's not the plot of the movie.
Right.
And that's not the main focus. And it's not tragic. And you know, there's lots of stuff. And honestly, I think the movie's fine up until they get to Snyderville. But once they get to Snyderville, I think it turns fucking hilarious. I think it's really funny. And like the way that they interact with people and shit. And like, who is it? Like, I was like watching this and I was like, Beth fucking Grant, Blythe Danner, Stockard Channing, fuck it. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, you know, oh my God.
And what's the name that plays the other townie who's been a mom in every movie?
Who was the mom in A Christmas Story and
Melinda Dillon.
Yeah, and Harry and the Henderson.
Right.
Yeah, like she's in it, and then oh my God, it's just like so many people. Also,
she's also in Close Encounters.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And Magnolia.
Yeah. Okay, I don't remember Magnolia.
Nor I.
That's one. Magnolia is one that like I want to rewatch it, but I'm like it's 3 whole hours of my life that I have to dedicate to rewatching this movie that has Tom Cruise in it. So it's like, oh God.
Yeah, and it's one for me too that I'm like, it had such a big impact on me when I watched it.
Interesting.
And it was the first time I saw a lot of those actors. Like, it's the first time I remember seeing Seymour Hoffman. It's the first time I remember seeing John C. Reilly. Has he seen that?
I don't know. It's been so long. I remember watching it and being like, I don't get it. But like, I watched it like not long after it came out. I don't remember how I saw it, honestly. And I was like, and it came out, I think, in like 1999.
Something like that.
And it just didn't have an impact on me. And everyone was like, oh my God. And I was just like, I don't get it. But I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've wanted to revisit it because I'm like, would I still feel that way? Like, I don't remember anything about it. I just remember feeling completely underwhelmed at the end of it and being like, this didn't do anything for me. And so I've been wanting to rewatch it.
The songs by Amy Mann.
I know. I remember that's what made me want to watch it because of that song.
And
yeah.
Never loved you.
Never loved anyone. Save me. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The first P.T. Anderson movie I've seen.
Interesting.
Saw.
You saw.
I've still never seen Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights is interesting. That's one that I've revisited. And
apparently it holds up.
Yeah,
people stand by it. I'm a little surprised.
That
honestly,
fake Mark Wahlberg penis.
Hell yeah.
Nobody wants to see racist cock, so they used a fucking fake one. Just kidding. Because Mark Wahlberg is infamously horribly racist. And
That's weird because he's from Boston.
Yeah, I mean, like he almost beat someone to death in a racial crime. Mark Wahlberg sucks. You heard it here, not first at all, folks. Anyway, and this podcast, we don't shy away from calling people out for being horrible, white, shitty men. Anyway, To Wong Foo. There's a lot of this that I didn't remember, and so much of that was like funny. Like, I didn't remember a lot of the humor in this. Like, the fucking list that he writes. I had no memory of that fucking list that he writes of, like, where to find them.
Where homos hang out or whatever.
It's just, like, flower shop. It's, like, ballet class.
My favorite was, like, flight attendant lounges. What the fuck?
I laughed so fucking hard. Yeah. I was like in tears. Like we had to pause it.
We had to screen cap that.
Oh my God.
In media res because
so fucking
in flagrante.
It was so fucking
in other Latin terms that I don't really know what they mean.
Also, the thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I don't necessarily think that I don't think this was the intention at all, but I think the way that it shines through like decades later. When Chris Penn, because basically what happens is like 3 drag queens are making a road trip from New York to LA, and they get lost, and a policeman, a shitty racist policeman, sorry, A policeman
Redundant.
pulls them over, and Patrick Swayze's character Vita is like really worried because their license has like a man's name on it, but they're dressed like a woman, and they're like in a very like, they're
It's
in
rural.
yeah, they're in a rural town or rural area, and they're like, it's not going to be safe. I don't know what to do.
What do we got here?
Hola.
Um, I was wondering if you could help us. You see, we are 3 young career girls from...
Career girls?
Yes, from New York City, and we are so lost you cannot believe.
Where do you think we are?
Well,
West
lost.
Virginia?
I don't...
West Virginia? Well, you're a long way from West Virginia, girls.
Oops.
Well, I was wondering, could you possibly help us find a moderately priced hotel?
And so the cop basically, has her get out of the car, and he's like, hey, I don't know. He just basically proceeds to assault her, but when he realizes that there's a penis between her legs.
Which, by the way, quick aside, did you read the trivia about that scene?
Mm-mm.
Swayze shoved a corn cob down his pants, so Chris Pinn's reaction is genuine.
That's amazing. And she like pushes him off, and then he like, I don't know. It's very weird.
He's unconscious for 24
He's-
hours.
Yeah, he's like unconscious.
But they
or
think
whatever.
he's dead,
And
so they sail away on a wave of mutilation.
yeah. So they think that they've killed him, and they like run away, and they're trying just to get to LA, and their car breaks down, and they get stranded sort of in this very podunk little town called Snyderville.
Well, ladies, welcome to Snydersville.
No relation.
No relation.
And then they're basically, I don't want to say they're trying to pass as women. They just don't want anyone to find them out. I mean, I guess they're trying to pass as women, or they're just trying not to be found out as drag queens. I don't know. 'Cause
Well,
they're
mostly I
worried.
think, yeah, they're afraid of,
Right.
again, the gay panic, the trans panic.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I keep saying the gay panic because
Right, because that's the most like common term, or that's not.
that's
the
what
most
it was called before
No, yeah.
language.
Oh, yeah. I know.
No, I know you know. I'm
No. I get that. I just mean like I'm. That's what I'm saying. Like I know, but explaining it for others is important too. I was just saying.
right, and so I didn't actually explain it. It's been used. It's a legal precedent at this point. Like,
Right. Yeah.
For murder
Yes.
in particular, but like
Correct.
I'm assault as well.
Yes,
So like I can't cite any cases or any shit like that. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
for years,
Yes.
and I think only until recently, have certain places. And I don't even know how you do this. Is it by legal? This is a rhetorical question. I don't think you actually have the answer. If you do, that's great. But
Oh, yeah.
because it's a legal precedent, I know. Like, can you legislate that, or
Right.
does it only have
Yeah.
to come about by a new precedent? Anyway, that if a cis man, becomes intimate with someone he perceives as a cis woman, and then finds out that they're not,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and ends up murdering them,
or
it's
causing,
been a
yeah,
useful
harm, yeah.
defense, legally
Mhm.
speaking, to
Yes.
say like,
Oh,
I
it-
was
'cause-
thrown into a panic
Yeah,
because
yeah.
suddenly I'm gay.
Yeah. So that's what we're referencing
Yeah.
when we talk about that. And it was
So
called-
if
it
you
was
want to
called-
research
yeah.
that, have fun
Yeah.
hating life.
Yep. It's horrible. But yeah, it's not a thing where we're like we're not just saying like someone's going to have a gay panic. We're literally referencing like
exactly.
something that was
Right.
like harmful to, not harmful, but like life threatening
Right.
to anyone
Yes.
who,
And I will say that this is that's what's hard for me about this movie is I just feel it's not, I don't feel like it's done horribly.
oh, for sure.
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not, like you
No.
said, it's not done for laughs.
Right. Correct.
And it's not thrown away exactly.
Yeah.
The specter of it is throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't know. I hate how it keeps coming up. The way it keeps coming up, like,
Well, how do you mean?
well, like, I mean, it's also just my discomfort with the threat of assault
Yeah.
as a tension builder in a film.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of movies, it is used just for that, and that's what that would be.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, Chi-Chi getting surrounded by dudes just to get rescued doesn't feel great to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
That scene is confusing. Sorry, I feel like I was like, that scene's confusing mainly because while those guys are presented as the the secondary threat, because the sheriff is the main threat.
Crispin, yeah.
Yeah. And well, I guess they're like a tertiary threat because like there's also Virgil who beats his wife, who's another threat. So they're like kind of a tertiary threat, but like when confronted, they clean up their act essentially. Like when Noxzema, played by Wesley Snipes, who is, oh my god, I did not remember how absolutely gorgeous Wesley Snipes is in drag. I was like, Jesus Christ. I don't even feel like they put much makeup on him.
No.
I was like, oh my god, he has some lashes.
Like it's mostly like fake lashes. Yeah.
He has lashes
and like colorful
and like some
eyeshadow,
and he's just like the most gorgeous woman I've ever seen, and it's upsetting. I'm like, why aren't you like this all the time, Wesley Snipes? Just put on some fucking fake lashes, you gorgeous asshole. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, come on. Anyway. So, when she confronts them, like the little, redneck boys or whatever, she basically just like, grabs one of their balls.
What's all this noise?
Oh, baby. You are a whole lot of woman.
Oh, yes.
I know what you need.
I hardly think you're the man to give it to me.
Oh, no.
Tell him. Thank you. I think you should apologize to me. And I also think you should apologize to those ladies over there.
I ain't apologizing to no ladies. No way.
No way. Just as I expected. Well, do you like my nails? Walk.
Grabs one of their balls.
Oh,
Michael Vartan. He's the teacher from Never Been Kissed.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So she
Ed Familius, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. She grabs his balls and she's like, "That's not how you talk to women," or whatever. When he's being like, whatever. And then they start acting better, and they're not threats anymore. So I'm like, if all it took was just like a simple confrontation of like, you're behaving like a piece of shit, stop it. I mean, she does threaten them in the sense of like, I will hurt you if you continue to berate these women. But that's it. That's all it takes is like a threat of harm to them, and then they stop acting that way. So their confrontation to Chi-Chi is slightly confusing because you're like,
wait, but that doesn't happen after.
That happens before, but it happens like not long before, I don't think.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, what was gonna go on there? Like if they're not being portrayed as like a severe threat and very easy to overcome. And I'm not saying like what was the threat supposed to be to Chi-Chi? That's not what I mean. I mean it makes that situation with Chi-Chi confusing because it's like, well then they're not actually just chill dudes. They're predatory. Right. So I don't understand. So that just it makes it confusing because you're like, what?
Yes. And that's the I think that's at the crux of it for me is like it's
It's
okay.
like it seems like they're right. It seems like
It
they're
almost
doing it just to make you panic for Chi-Chi and give her a situation that she needs rescuing from.
Yes. And
So
then
that
in the end it feels like, oh, well, you could have confronted these guys the whole time, then it's your fault that you
right,
didn't
exactly.
do it
Or
sooner.
I mean, I believe that was presented so that you could see that like Ray, what is it? Bobby Ray?
Man, I can't keep the
Bobby
Bobbies
Ray
straight.
was the not like I think it was supposed to present you like with a juxtaposition or whatever of like
Yes, he's
he
not like
is
the other boys.
different than these boys. He is not confrontational. He's not judgmental. He's open minded, and it's supposed and he's whatever. So and
Even
I
though
think
it's
it was
unclear that
but I think it was done. I'm not saying it was done well, but I think that whole thing was done so that you would understand why she falls for Bobby Ray so fast.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because they were like, it's not going to make sense if some guy's just like, you're a real pretty lady, and she's not. She's going to be like, okay, whatever, I've heard this before.
Huh.
So I think that they presented it that way so that it gave her, like, a sense of safety around him. So she didn't really think that she needed to, like, guard herself as much or whatever. Because he saw that she was in danger and he rescued her from it. So she sees him as, like, a safe person. And, it probably wasn't that deep at the time. But, I think it was just a way for them to, like, show. Like, I think it was a way for the audience to feel like this makes sense that she would fall for him so quickly. But again, could have been done better, I guess.
I personally didn't need that because I feel like at that point Chi-Chi's already established as very much into
fairy tales and like
she's the one that continually puts herself out there first.
Yes, correct.
She
puts her
less
out
averse to danger as the rest of them.
To danger, but also like is more open to like she's shown as someone that like I want to find love, I want to find the man of my dreams, I want to find all this stuff. So
she's just down.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't mean that in a
I was like watching
anyway.
And I know I think John Leguizamo is so fucking hot, like just so gorgeous. I really truly don't think he looked stupendous as Chi-Chi. I blame the makeup artists. I think they did a really
Same.
Although I
want to get into this, but I need to.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we're going to take a break real quick. Be right back. Late water in a stranger's tears.
Okay. John Leguizamo's makeup.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. It really was. I mean, they do say the part, he's like, I'm going to do my best to find a foundation that matches my skin tone better, which is funny. But I'm like, yeah, that's really it. They like absolutely did like such a terrible job of blending his makeup. And
I guess you can make the argument that that's intentional since they're supposed to be. They make such a big fuss at the beginning about how he's just a boy in drag.
No, he's just a boy in a dress. He's not a drag queen.
Oh, yes, sorry. They also refer to him as, at first sight, who's this little Latin boy in drag crying? Let me say, real quick, too, there's a lot of sort of casual racism. It's under the guise of the girls just giving each other heck, but for me that was kind of rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mainly between
it's between Snipes and Leguizamo,
yeah.
Well, it's mainly Snipes. I feel like saying things.
Yeah.
So I felt less upset by it. I'm not saying it was great. I'm like, I don't have a I can't.
I mostly am just pointing it out as a sort of warning. If you, I was not expecting that, and felt a little unprepared.
For sure.
Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
overall, I enjoyed their dynamics as an ensemble.
Absolutely. I really did like the part and I didn't remember a lot of like the guts of this movie. Like I remembered like little tiny funny bits of it, but I didn't remember like the real humor and like the things that I hadn't seen it in a very long time. I like the part where they're all like arguing towards the end, like before the big thing. And Vita is telling Chi-Chi that she can't, like, Vita's like, you're not allowed to see, like, Bobby Ray, like, that's not, or maybe it's Bobby Lee, I don't fucking know. I think it's Bobby Ray. And she's just like, you're not allowed, it's not, whatever. And they just really get into it, and she's like, oh, and it gets named. Chi-Chi's like, it's interesting how you're telling, like, me and Noxzema, like, what we need to be doing, like, you're
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I'm just so sick and tired of this freakazoid white lady telling the black lady and the Latin lady which way is up, down, and under because she's vanilla white superior. You can laugh all you want, but I hope you pack and fix that Cadillac because I'm staying, okay?
Oh, okay, we're naming it. All right, okay. That's interesting. So,
I hope that was improvised.
right, seriously.
I mean, I don't actually hope that. I
know.
wonder.
So I was like, oh, okay, I don't, and it like really is talking about like, like you're so controlling of like how other people do drag and how other people, live their life because your life sucks, and you want to be in control. And I was like, whoa, okay, we're just naming shit. We're not, okay, that's fine.
Serving that realness.
Hunty.
It's giving tea. Or it gets the hose again. Oh,
so
my apologies.
My apologies. Oh man, I wish I could do it so bad.
Okay, but so I need to break it down from this. Not break it down.
Let me break it down for you.
I don't need that. I'm sorry.
Hunty.
I feel very
breaking it down. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think everyone did clearly put themselves into their roles.
Absolutely.
And with respect.
Absolutely.
So full kudos for
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
I found Swayze so distractingly unconvincing. And
really?
Part of that is wardrobe and makeup.
Interesting.
And
I didn't feel that way.
Like, that's the thing. Like, as a character, like, I'm like, I know her,
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it's just how it's aged, and part of it being that drag is such a mainstream thing now.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
I will say that I felt, sorry, not to interrupt, but about the makeup.
Yes.
I think all of their makeup, Chi-Chi maybe is a little, because, hers was, like, supposed to be, like, outlandish and, like, not looking, all of their makeup was way too understated.
Right, which is interesting. It's not
Yeah.
garish. Like, that's not part of the... And maybe that's why it felt unconvincing. I don't know.
Right, yeah. I think... Because I do think that, like... There's more... What I think is interesting is I think that they look more like what your perception of a trans woman is. Not your, like, you personally.
Sure.
I mean, like, proverbial you.
Right.
The perception of what a trans woman...
Right.
would look like, as opposed, not saying that's what a trans woman looks like, but like when
Correct.
cis people imagine trans people, that's what they imagine. But like if you're talking about like drag queens, you're thinking of something that's like a complete character, a whole performance, like
Jason
a
Isaacs in Sweet November.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Fuck off. Stop. Oh my god.
No, I think that
I think you mean Chaz Cherry. Please, if you can, put a clip of that in Chaz Cherry. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe it was wardrobe too. Like I
I
did not understand what any of them were wearing at any point.
Yeah.
Chi-Chi, however, felt the most convincing because she's mainly just wearing dresses,
Yeah.
short little mini dresses, which I thought worked.
Well,
ish.
Swayze's character to me was doing like old Hollywood, and so that made a lot of sense.
Right,
to me.
which did not work. I mean,
What?
like I don't know.
What? You don't know what?
I feel shitty at how bothered by it I was because
here's where Patrick Swayze was the one that gave me. Oh God, I don't know how to say this. Like when they were doing, like when they were like showing themselves getting dressed and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the beginning, like Wesley Snipes is, being beautiful, and then Patrick Swayze is like getting out of the shower, and
when he does his 2-camera about how he's never enough.
Watching Patrick Swayze like get dressed, I was legitimately like dysphoric. I was like, I want to look like this. I want to look like this. Not like in a bad way, not in a bad way, but I was just like, oh my God, I wish I looked like this. But like watching him get dressed into a woman, I was like, that's what I want on. That's how I want to look. And so I think I latched on to Vita more because I was like, and she seemed more convincing to me because it was like, yes, that's I think, and I'm not saying that this is what, but I think also Vita represented transness more to me because of how my mind perceived her when she was getting dressed as herself. And I'm not saying that that's accurate to what is supposed to be represented in the film.
Right.
But that is just how, my mind perceived it. Interesting, Mercury Stardust, the trans handyman. Love her. I watched a TikTok of hers and I rewatched it last night because I was like, I don't remember. She was saying that she reads, or she was saying that Chi-Chi is a trans woman.
Yeah.
And that Wesley Snipes and Patrick Swayze are cis men in drag.
That's how.
And yeah, and that's not how I felt.
That's sort of how I felt.
That is wild, though. And I'm not saying, I think she was saying, like, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, that's not necessarily what is said, but that was, like, later. I don't know. And I was just like I feel like, especially the conversation. I think it's because the conversations with Stockard Channing, where she's, like, telling Patrick Swayze that, like, she has never... Like, she knew the moment that they came into town what they were, and it wasn't an issue for her at all.
Right. And she says Adam's apple 5 million times.
Adam's apple.
If we're going to be friends, there really is something I should tell you.
Adam's apple?
What?
Adam's apple. Women don't have Adam's apples. Only men have Adam's apples. And the first night you came to town, I noticed that you had yourself an Adam's apple.
Then you know?
I know. But I'm very fortunate to have a lady friend who just happens to have an Adam's apple.
You have a Adam's apple. Adam's apple. I don't know.
Why do you sound Australian?
I don't know, because I'm trying to do Southern, and they're very similar. Adam's apple.
Adam's apple.
You have an Adam's apple. No, that's more New
Kiwi.
Zealand. Yeah.
Adam's apple.
Adam's apple.
B.I. Bo. B.I. Mickey Bo.
Anyway, when she says the conversations they have, she was like, she was like, you know, I've always wanted a lady friend like you, or she's like, I've always wanted a lady friend, or like I always,
Ladies need to have
right.
lady friends.
And Patrick Swayze, Vita is like, well, there's something I need to tell you then, and she's like,
Eat 'em zip.
you haven't, you haven't eaten Zeeple. I'm just doing Melanie Linsky. I was like, and she's like, you have an Adam's apple, and she says like, I mean, she used like binary language, but this was like 1995, so
sure.
you know, and she's like, men have an Adam's apple and women don't, and he's like, oh, you knew, and she was like, what I know is that I like having a lady friend.
Happens to have an Eden seed.
Yeah, and to me, I'm like, that is so.
Well, then she follows up with.
Well, that's at the end.
Man or a woman.
Well, she says that at the end.
Yeah.
I know, but you're saying she follows that up. That doesn't. I'm saying it doesn't happen in the same.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was in the middle of saying something, and I was getting there. What I was saying is, to me, that is a very, like, I don't know exactly how to put it, but that's like a thing where it's like, it sounds like she's saying, you're a woman, you just happen to have an Adam's apple, is how that translates.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when she's like saying, like, I mean, I was like, hello, this is a sapphic little, thing happening. I was just like, are y'all gonna fuck or what? She says, I don't think of you as a man or a woman. I think of you as an angel. And I think, again, that's something that's, like, implying that, like, there's not necessarily, like, I don't necessarily think that any of the characters are cisgendered. And I'm not saying, you know, that's what I more mean.
Gotcha.
Like, the implication and the messaging that I feel that is being said in the movie with these lines and with the interactions of people is like, it is like, womanhood is a performance.
Uh-huh.
And anyone can perform it.
Right.
Not womanhood is a vagina.
Right. Biological or what have you.
Yeah.
And
so but I think it subtly is like very, I think it's subtly and kind of accidentally very trans inclusive in how it does this.
Yeah.
You know? And it's really
almost despite itself.
Right, exactly.
Quite, but
Yeah. No, but exactly. Like you would think that especially being 1995 and having like, this is the thing. It's 1995. It has fucking Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, John Leguizamo as the main characters playing like drag queens,
right.
and the joke is not, oh my god, dudes in dresses. Like they are embracing it. I was watching like John Leguizamo and like the way and I think John Leguizamo is beautiful, but I'm like, he's such a good fucking actor because he's like, his performance as Chi-Chi is so, like, he's like full on crying in some scenes and just like giving it his all. And he's just like so there for this performance. And it's such a good performance. Like, I love Chi-Chi. Like, she was such a great character. And
the most relatable of the three for me.
sure. And it was just like, I was just like, good God, this is a really, 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 really beautiful performance.
Yeah, apparently Lauritzia Dumont is the drag queen that studied with him.
Oh, wow.
They all, I watched a smattering of interviews with the three of them, and apparently they each studied with one specific drag performer.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Like,
and
individually.
She's still active. I looked her up. That
that's
was,
wild.
I guess, at the beginning of her career, so I don't know how, I mean, that's...
Yeah, wow. But that makes sense that they would get someone newer for Chi-Chi, because that was supposed to be her entire character.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Mm-hmm.
Also, ethnically similar, seemingly.
Yes.
I don't know if that was true for the other two, but...
Yeah, it's just, I think something that is impressive to me, I feel like Noxzema is the least fleshed out character, unfortunately.
Yep.
But even so, I feel like they all have individual characters, and they're all like
yes.
And that's something again. It's something
They
that
are
you're
distinct.
like,
They are embodied
what?
characters.
Yes, and that like
Yeah.
again, 1995
Yeah.
mainstream movie
And I was gonna
about gay like drag queens.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this was the time. Of
Right,
that,
yeah.
Given
Right,
all the
right, right.
movies we're watching, but. You know, it's not language. The language is a little different than when we would use now. Well, we would use now, but when I'll put it in, I guess.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is it Noxemia that breaks it down?
Yes.
You would simply put a boy in a dress. When a straight man puts on a dress and gets his sexual kicks, he is a transvestite. When a man is a woman trapped in a man's body and has the little operation, he is a transsexual.
I know that.
When a gay man has way too much fashion sense for one gender, he is a drag queen.
Thank you.
And when a tired little Latin boy puts on a dress, he is simply a boy in a dress.
Well, she does say that like when a guy puts on women's clothes to get like sexual,
yeah, right.
she says that's a transvestite. Technically, that's not it. That's like a different term. Transvestite is just someone
I think that might be the dreaded autogynephilia.
Yeah, that might be yeah. The dreaded. But transvestite is technically just a cis man who dresses in, you know. And I will say this: a lot of transvestites who are transvestites. I mean, I won't say a lot of, but it is a thing sometimes that cis men who say I'm a cis man and I'm a transvestite. There's a pipeline to JK, I'm a trans woman. Yeah. And I don't, it's not something I don't have like numbers on it, obviously, but this is something where
Drag
like
queens, I'd imagine too. I mean, the only
yeah.
distinction. Well, drag is
a
performance. People
Right,
don't
correct.
live their lives that way unless
right. Well, but
their characters take
trans
over,
women can be drag queens too.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's
I'll
a whole
allow
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't understand. I'm sincerely. What do you mean?
That like a drag performer can be a trans woman. Like drag queens are often like people will sometimes mistakenly say that like because a drag king
Yes.
is a woman, someone who's
Right.
an AFAB person dressing as a man,
Yes.
performing as a man.
Correct.
And drag queens are cis men who dress as women, but trans women can be drag queens as well as cis men. Like cis men and trans women can be drag queens.
Really?
Yes, correct.
That is news to me.
Yeah. That's another thing that's said in the Mercury
They can't be,
Stardust video about Chi-Chi.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it's coming. I'm not sure, but cis women might also sometimes do drag queen things as well. That's more of a controversial thing. But it is, essentially the camp performance of womanhood.
Yes.
Sort of thing. So it's about more so the classification of what you're dragging as, I guess. I don't know what more so than. But it is something that like, I think 30 years ago, there was a distinct, it was like men do this, women do that,
Oh, yeah.
Men are drag queens, women are drag kings. And then it was like, well, I'm neither of those. What am I? So it's like the language around it isn't like drag queens and drag kings are essentially like what they're called, but like the people who participate in it don't have to be.
Right. It doesn't say.
Yeah. It's not.
It's not a guarantee.
It's more gender
about
inclusive than it sounds. I guess is what I'm saying. It sounds like a binary, but it's not really.
Right.
That's all.
Sold. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Is like Chi-Chi, Leguizamo is Chi-Chi feels like a woman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Noxzema is a very convincing queen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To me.
Yes.
And
For sure.
Patrick Swayze was neither. Like I really wanted.
Interesting.
I don't know. Like I feel really bad saying this, and I can't really. It's not. I don't feel like it's his fault.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to peg it.
Yeah.
And again, I saw some watching some brief interviews. I saw him talking about, and again with all of them with respect to the role.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot of fun. I was going to get to be just
Mm-hmm.
flamboyant and over the top, but I realized." He kept doing this thing. He was like, if I went out there trying to be Miss Thing,
Yeah.
he kept doing that and saying Miss Thing.
Yeah.
He was like, it didn't work for the character. It's not. That's not who Vita is.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess his approach was to just shocker, play it as a woman rather than as a man in drag.
Right. This is another thing, though, where it's confusing for me to think of, like, Vita being just a man in drag because of her family, like, disowning her because of it. And she's like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel maybe, I mean, like, yes, it's a part of who you are, but I feel like if you're not a trans woman... You're not necessarily going to be like, this is who I am, and you need to accept me.
Right. No,
you know what I mean? And so I'm like, And again, I'm not saying, if anything, if she's not meant to be trans, then that's kind of a failure on the writer's part for, like, the phrasing and the wording of it. But yeah, that was, like, something where I was like,
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, and I think that she does get all those moments as a character where it's like
unconvincing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and unconvincing isn't even quite the right.
I also liked that there weren't like. There was like one part where like one of them is like, "Oh, you can have this dress that belonged to my aunt." Like she had really broad shoulders.
Oh yeah, right at the end.
But like it's after they know that they're drag queens, so it's not like. Yeah. There's no like, oh, you're very tall for a woman. Oh, you have very broad shoulder. Oh, you're very, masculine for being a woman. None of those jokes happen. Those jokes do not happen in this.
Well,
which
and
I also found was almost unheard of because that's just like shit that people do. They just throw it in all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it's, so that was.
Well, also this movie is like, when did Ace Ventura come out? Like, I mean, movies are still being made where the joke is... The fucking punchline is, oh, it's actually a man.
Exactly, yeah. Ugh. Which I love how this is, like, a thing where, like, I mean, like, when I was younger, obviously, and, like, didn't understand, like, it didn't occur to me, but, like, now it's like, oh, this person who lives life as a woman and has, like... their entire life is as a woman and they're known as a woman, they're actually a man. And you're like, it's like, what?
Yeah,
how?
What's the actual...
How? Yeah, like, because there's a penis there?
Yep.
They're actually a man. Like, if they've done everything in their life, if they've changed their name, they dress as, they live as, they're known as, then how is, where's the actually in this? Like, where's the, what? What's going on there? That's interesting. What you got going on there? Like that's something that like you look at it now and you're like, what? Like that doesn't even that language doesn't even make sense. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
This woman is actually a man, and it's like,
what are you, Tucker Carlson's dad?
Oh, for real, fucker Carlson. What a piece of shit. Yeah, Tucker Carlson's dad, who was. So
made a career out of outing trans women, basically.
What a piece of fucking shit. Ugh. The Lady in the Dale is what we watched, and when I found out that like the fucking asshole,
They did a good job of saving that to the end. That
I
was
was
kind
like,
of
oh
that's
my
kind of the
God.
reveal.
Yeah.
Ironically.
Yeah,
Of
seriously.
the series.
Good God. Anyway, would you recommend To Wong Foo?
Sure. I would probably give some caveats. I don't know. You know me. I will say, I wanted to bring up that like I love. Well, I'm always a little wary of like strangers breathe through town and change everything for the better. You know, like
Right,
that's
right.
a very white savior kind of
For sure.
recipe.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that going on. I could have done without like. I didn't understand why we had the throwaway romance between Blythe Danner and Mike Lodge. Mike Hodge is the actor's name. Mike Hodge. I loved. I'm just going through my notes now. Everything okay over there?
Yes. Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
My favorite Noxzema scene is when she's chasing after Clara.
Excuse me. You forgot your picture here. I was just picking it up for you because I didn't want it to get dirty. Oh, no, girlfriend. Did you just do a Yui? Oh, girl. I'm coming. I'm going to get you.
Oh my God, that shit's so funny. It goes on for so long.
The fucking cameo by Robin Williams is pretty great.
Agreed.
John
Jacob Heimerschmidt.
Enchanté. Oh, Cher, you spoke French. How bad. Look at you, my little piñata. How are you?
Chi, you must meet the only man of money matters, Mr. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Ay, papi, ay, tan chulo, mamita. El gusto es mío.
No, el gusto es mío.
Oh, no, papito, el gusto es mío, mi amor.
No, el gusto y lo susto dejan robusto.
Sí, tipo, está justo las nalgas.
And Noxzema, you remember John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt?
Oh, yes. His name is my name, too.
Do people always shout, I hate that?
Oh, yeah.
Look at you. Oh, my God, I'm like a compass near north. Congratulations on your victoire.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Him and Leguizamo going. I was just like, oh my God.
I could have watched that for hours.
Yeah.
The fucking montage where they're decorating their room
Oh,
is hilarious to me.
amazing.
I appreciate the surrealness of that.
Yes, that was amazing.
Yeah. Chris Penn at the bar.
I did not remember that at all from this, and
I want to see the outtakes from that. I want to see that going on first.
I laughed so fucking hard. Oh my God.
Men acting like women. Men wanting to be with one another. Men touching each other. Their stubbly chins rubbing up against one another. Touching each other. Manly hands touching swirls of chest hair. Occasional whiff of a rugged aftershave.
I almost wanted more, like, again, like, I feel like there's questionable tonal shifts in this movie. That's
For sure. Yeah.
It's not
Right.
It's not as bad as some other things we watched for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I kind of like the shift where of Chris Penn's character starts out as a horrible guy. You think he's dead. They sail away on a wave of mutilation. He comes back and then he's a cartoon.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, he's Jackie Gleason in Smoking the Bandit or
He's
whatever.
like,
But I wish, like he's the joke of the movie. He's actually the butt of the joke of the movie.
Yes.
I wish there's a gap where he's not. We don't see him at all, and I think that goes too long for the fact that he comes back for the end.
Yeah.
That's just a minor structural complaint. But I love the moments we see
Oh
him
my
are
God.
hilarious, and
Yes.
they're a nice contrast. And I wish that
Yeah.
had been sort of played up more.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's to where by the time he shows up at Snyderville, it's kind of like.
Yeah.
And also,
Well, I think
what
that's
the fuck
done.
happens to Virgil? Like that feels like it's
That was
just
the
a dead
part.
end.
The part that was like funny to me about that is that like his mechanic shop is literally like right next to where they live.
Yeah.
And he has his repair truck and he drives into town and then he looks at his wife and she's just like, yeah, no. And then he drives out of town and I'm like, but your repair shop is just right.
Yes, this is what I don't understand.
Where are you
Vita
going?
kicks his ass.
Which I appreciated that.
He disappears.
He goes to the bar.
He goes to the bar wherever that is. It's just wherever Chris Penn happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason for them to pass. I mean, although I thought it was going to be I thought they were going to
end up in bed together or something.
Well, I thought I feel like it's hinted at, but I thought that Chris Penn was going to try to flirt with him or something.
Oh my God.
But then so where did he go?
Yeah.
Where's he been? And then he shows up and I don't know.
I mean, it's just the night before he shows up again.
That's fine. But I that bugged me.
That's fine.
Took me out of it a little bit.
I like the part where, I shouldn't say I like the part. It's interesting the way it's played because it is played for laughs, but I think the way that they do it isn't as transphobic as it maybe could have been. When Chris Penn is talking about how they're like, you got beat up by a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, she was really a man, and they're like, oh, okay, sure. And they're just like, the way that it comes across is like, the joke is that he got beat up by a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, no, but she was actually a man. And they're just like, oh, okay. And they're like, a woman, you mean? And the way that they're just like driving home, like, it was a woman, and he keeps being like, but she's really a man. And then, but they're just like laughing and being like, yeah, okay. And the way that it comes across is like I know this is not how it was written because it was like 1985. The way that it comes across is like, yeah, that's still a woman, buddy.
Right.
And so like again, I'm sure that it was not intended to be that way, but the way that it comes across, like watching it now, is literally like they're saying, no,
You idiot.
you got beat up by a woman. And he's like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the part where he's like, when you like,
I'm going to bring 3 corpses back here.
Yeah.
When you look between her legs
Listen,
and there's
you're
something there that
he's
that's
like,
when
you
that-
find
that's the
something
moment
there.
when the character
Oh
turns
yeah,
for
he's
me.
like, when you find something there that shouldn't be there, I don't even know what. Oh, that part. I know it's like terrible, but I was like, oh my
No,
God.
it's perfect
And
because that's when
they're just like laughing at him,
Yes,
which
exactly.
is beautiful.
and that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
it does. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why the scenes that's where the tone for that character
Exactly.
switches. And I didn't like only retrospectively can I
Yeah.
say that. Like at the moment you're just like, what the fuck is this dialogue? I was laughing at it like,
Exactly. You're like,
do you know what
right?
this-
You sound so stupid.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Yeah. And
So, well done there.
Exactly. Right. That's what I mean. Like, that was like an interesting thing where like you're expecting there to be like vastly more, like you're expecting there to be like transphobia in it.
Yeah.
And you're like, the way that it's written is like, oh, this can be read as like them literally being like, oh my God, you sound transphobic. Like, and them
Interesting.
laughing
I
at
hadn't
him.
thought of it that way.
Because he's saying like that she's really a man.
No, yeah, I get
and
what you're saying.
they're saying,
Okay.
okay,
Idiot.
I think you mean she's a woman. And it's like, it's so brilliantly like at the time, I'm sure they were like, yeah, that's just what you're saying because you got beat up by a girl. But now it's just like,
Mhm.
they're saying it so subtly that it's like, yeah, I think you mean woman. Like, there's no, I don't know. I was like, oh, this is actually
Yeah. Good point.
pretty great because they're not saying the thing you expect them to say, which would make it not funny anymore.
Right.
But it's actually just them being like, you sound
an idiot.
stupid. what you're saying sounds stupid, and it does. So it's great. Yeah. I think I would recommend it because I think that
I mean, all of
I
these,
think it holds up well for being
does
made
okay.
in the 90s. For
Yeah.
being a mainstream movie from
Yeah.
the 90s, definitely holds up. And I want to say 1995, this is the same year Jeffrey came out.
Yeah.
So like how does a mainstream movie do a better job at this than I mean, one thing for Jeffrey is
Based
two
on a play.
men full on making out,
Well, that's true.
So there's that, but like yeah. I think I definitely think it doesn't do I think it doesn't fall into a lot of traps that a lot of movies with
It's true. It avoids
like,
a lot of things.
The movies since have done.
Absolutely.
Like it doesn't make the joke that they're like drag queens. It doesn't make the joke that they don't pass. It doesn't make the joke like nothing is done kind of at their expense. They are the heroes of the movie, so they aren't mocked and made the joke. And I think that that's an important thing that makes this movie not fall into the trope of a lot of movies and I do think it's important that it is not just white people.
Yes.
And it's not, and I'm not saying they handle everything perfectly. Please don't think that I'm saying that. But
no, but it's clearly a choice and it's acknowledged.
Yes.
So
Yes.
already you're ahead of the game in over a lot of movies.
Exactly. So I think it's I definitely think it's
any of these we're watching for Pride Month, I would recommend just for me it's
yes.
I'm very fascinated with the the media depiction of
yes,
queerness and transness,
yes,
and all that stuff. So I recommend them just from that standpoint.
I definitely think that there's a historical importance to watching any of these, even if they're not a good movie. I do think that watching them with a critical eye, watching them and seeing how, I do think that's important. However, like, if it's gonna feel like just take care of yourself.
Oh yeah, of course,
take
care of yourself.
But that's pretty much it. Like, I definitely think, like you said, any of the stuff that we're watching for Pride is really it's important. Like, we're not watching things that were like a disgrace to queer people for Pride. You know what I mean? We're not watching things that were like we're watching like queer films and like very specific queer films that made a specific,
Right.
Yeah.
They center queerness. The queerness isn't
cress.
This is sort of a correction I want to issue for myself. I keep referring to Boys in the Band and it being from the 70s. It is from 1970, which makes it even more...
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 1970, not the 70s.
Part of the long 1960s.
Last year of the 1960s, 1970.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Culturally speaking.
Yeah. No, yeah. Okay. Thanks for the correction.
Sure.
That's wild. I had no idea. That
Yeah,
it was,
it doesn't feel
I've
that
never
way.
Seen it.
It doesn't
I've
feel
never
that
seen
way.
It, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any last words?
Julie Newmar is in this?
Yeah.
Barely? Oh, Chi Rodriguez, the real person, sued.
Oh, shit.
And won some money.
Nice.
But his argument was that his reputation was hurt by being associated with...
Come on.
I don't think he had much of a career left at this point. He's a professional golfer, for those unaware.
Oh my God. Come on. Yeah, again, John Leguizamo in this. I think John Leguizamo is a really, really good actor, and I think because of his like comedy and his like outlandishness,
a little underrated.
90s, yeah, he got kind of like a reputation, but like if you watch anything where he's like actually supposed to be just like like even like honestly, I'm not saying that I'm not defending this movie, but in The Happening, he's like the best part of The Happening. Like that horrible M. Night Shyamalan movie. And
I
he's
remember the
in
movie.
there
I was
and
just trying to
he's
remember
just
him.
like
Yeah, he is.
He's
great.
giving such a performance in that, and unfortunately,
He is
Mark
giving
Wahlberg's
performance.
He is. It's giving actor. Anyway,
He's definitely the best part about Spawn.
about what?
Spawn.
Anyway, happy Pride.
C'est si bon de partir n'importe où, bras dessus, bras dessous, en chantant des chansons. C'est si bon de se dire des mots doux, de petits rien du tout, mais qui en disent en langue, en voyant notre mine ravie. Les passants dans la rue nous envient. C'est si bon de gaieté dans ses yeux, une esprit merveilleux qui donnait le frisson. C'est si bon, ces petites sensations, ça vaut mieux que millions. C'est tellement, tellement bon. C'est bon. Voilà, c'est bon. Les passants dans la rue, bras dessus, bras dessus.
What